There we go.
All right.
Nice, nice, nice. All right, hello everyone. I don't think there's everyone like right now because we just went live, so we should probably like small talk for a bit until people, come in, join the stream. If you are coming in, make yourself known. If you're already in. All right.
Yeah, I think you've got a number of people ready.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I guess we can start.
Yeah, sure. We can. I think we can get started. So I guess the main thing here is maybe we talk a bit about like what we plan to do today, on the stream. Do you want to go?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Lazar Nikolov. I am a core member at Chakra UI, and I want to. Sivran, here we go. And I want to introduce Sage. Sage.
Okay. Hey everyone, Laza already introduced me, so probably need no introduction here. My name is Shagun Adebayo. You can call me Sage. I'm the creator of Chakra UI and Zag.js. And today we'll be geeking out on state machines and trying to build should I say, one of the most challenging components and also the most requested component in Chakra UI. I have my water here. I hope it doesn't stay too long, but we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah, and as Sage mentioned, we're going to be modeling the logic of the select component, right? So that is the little drop down that you see on most of the websites, and yeah, it is one of the most requested components on Chakra UI, and we'll be modeling that using Zag.js or using state machines. So if you haven't seen how state machines can be used for UI, which are usually used for other logic, yeah, this is going to be a fun stream for you. All right, so yeah, we can jump in.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get this screen in there. Right. So here we've got like a quick playground for to help us out like sketch out the logic of the select component. Things we need to do here at the same time, but let's get a rough outline going, Lazar, and then we'll see how far we can go. Okay.
Okay.
So to build out, so we're on the journey to build a select component. There are a couple of things we need to figure out here. One of them is we need to do some sort of research, right? So typically, I would spend hours doing this, but we try to sort of like brush through doing this. Just quickly do a couple of research into the select component. Try to The goal with the research is to understand how the select component works, and what sort of behavior we want to support in the select component. And when we're done with doing the research, we would go into, I just call it logic sketching. So that's where we come in here to try to design, so let's sketch out the logic. I think somewhere in here we need to have an idea of the UI design as well, so that we actually know what it looks like. So we don't just start designing some weird logic that we don't even know what it should look like or what the end result looks like. So we'll do a very rough wireframe. It's not going to be any UI that is fancy, at least to start with. And then afterwards we start we'll build it out. So this is going to be like doing React and then adding some styles, and then building the machine, connecting the machine with that UI and testing.
Awesome. Bringing it all to life.
Awesome. All right. So let's start with API research. Okay. So right here, I've got like one of the tools I use a lot when I'm doing research is, it's called, I think it's called, trying to remember the name right now. I'll start with design system repo. This is sort of like a collection of different design systems out there. So we basically start from here, and then try to actually like find the select component and then try to sort of like see how other people have done this before in the past, and then just gain better understanding. The other link I'm going to open is this is actually the link I was looking for. It's called components.gallery. Right, so this is an awesome resource if you're building out design systems, mostly because it shows you like every component and it gives you a link to different references. So we'll come here, search for select. So with select, we've got quite a couple of examples to learn from. Let's just pick a couple of them. Lazo, do you want to go? Which one should we open?
Yeah, whichever it is. I don't know. We can pick the carbon design one. I can see that it's even double.
All right, let's pick this one.
Yeah. And when
I
we're
would.
talking about API design, right? API research, we're talking about what props are the select is going to have, what is going to like how the data binding is going to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we are also talking about more like the behaviors we need to support, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my thinking when I look at other systems is the people who build this component after I spent tons and tons of hours thinking about what the correct API looks like for their own product. So in my mind, it's more like trying to see or get a peek into like what all the decisions they made while trying to be the select, and just picking the good parts and sort of like adding my own flavor to that to design the ideal API. So it's mostly the options, the UI, the behaviors, pretty much everything.
Awesome.
All right, so let's just grab a few more. I'll pick Evergreen design system, and I think let's see. We've got here node design system. I love that one. So let's go here into carbon design system. So here we've got a pretty interesting solid component. This is like the basic the default HTML select. So it's mostly a no-go area. I think they've got it dropped down.
Yeah,
So this is sort of like what we're looking for here. So it's
exactly.
got a
So
drop down here, not a select.
yeah, the select has the browser menu that opens up, right? We're looking for a menu or like a pop over that that can be customized. That is what
Yes.
we're after.
Yes, exactly, and that's the goal. That's the goal today. All right. So here, looking at this API, we've got like a very big drop down component that's just there, and you pass it the items. I mean, that's completely okay. Sometimes it gets pretty difficult to actually style the items within the select. So we're gonna have to think about like with Chakra UI and even with building components in general, you want to sort of like prefer composition basically, which means you want to expose as many parts to the user as possible so they can customize the styles, right? But right now we're focusing on logic. So this is sort of like the behavior here. Clicking on the button opens this drop down. I think they've got keyboard going on as well, and pressing enter selects the option and focuses the button. All right, so that's about it. They have a nice anatomy diagram that also helps us. I think this is very useful.
Yeah, I like
All right,
this.
cool, cool, cool. We've also got the label. They also got like how to handle overflow content. So let's take a look at Evergreen design system. We've also got a select. I think this one is the basic. It's sort of like the default select component in the browser. So we can close this one. And node
Yeah,
design
went through.
system is also like that. So I think they've got a drop down. Uh, I'm not sure if the drop down means so it's basically a menu. This is a drop down menu largely, and I think maybe the last one I'll check, which I always find useful, is React Spectrum, right? Because I think they've got a lot of use cases and a lot of thoughts that has been put into that component. So let's see if they've got like a select. I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit. don't see a select here. Is it just me? I see a list box.
Oh, it's a picker. Yeah.
Let's call it a picker, maybe. That's fine. Yep. So it's called a picker, which is completely okay. So here we just want to like observe the behavior of these components, and then we can start sketching out the design of that. So let's start with basically writing out how we expect people to use this component. So the first thing we've got here is we've got a label at the top. We've got something called a trigger, which is like something that actually triggers this. Should we call it the list, or let's call it the list maybe? And within this list, we've got a couple of options, right? So this is a basic example here. So if we head over to Code Sandbox, I'd like to basically create README files because I just love like README development, README driven development mostly. So here we write a pretty quick JS block to sort of like design what the API of that could look like. So we've got the select component, and in there we've got the select label. And then within that label, let's assume we want to actually model this. Pretty much, we've got choose frequency. So I just put choose frequency right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also got a couple of items in there with keys. So I'll copy all this over pretty quickly, and then I'd have the select. What do we call this? Let me just paste this in. Right, and then we'll put some structure to this. The key thing here is we've got the label, and then we've got the trigger, and then inside the trigger we've got like adjacent to that trigger I've got a list and a couple of items. So the way this would most likely go here is we've got like a select trigger.
And this is going to be the button, basically, right? That we can
That
see at all
exactly.
times.
Yeah, that would be the button you can see at all times. And the default value, we have to probably figure that one out. But then we can just like put the trigger in there. And within the select, we've got the, we can call this a list box because it's kind of like, looks like a list box.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got the list box, and inside the list box, we've got a couple of, I call them select option.
Yeah.
All right, so we just like replace all this item stuff with select option, and instead of key here, we'll do value.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's something missing here though. If you see the way this is structured right now, it's more like you've got the label, and then after the label we've got a trigger, and after the trigger I've got a select list box. I think maybe this API is probably fine. I was thinking maybe we could potentially consider grouping these two together. But I think that is a very simple, that's as simple as a div to group them. It doesn't have to be a custom component.
Mm-hmm. Why exactly do we want to group them? Like, what would that give us grouping them?
That's actually a good question. So I think it's mostly just for layout, right? Both of them belong to a component. So imagine if you wanted to style this, this would be like a flex layout with some sort of spacing between the label and the trigger,
Yeah.
right?
So
So
we
in my
either like,
mind, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say like by grouping them with a div or any other element, for example, we have the opportunity to basically, as you said, style the layout. So whether we have a vertical layout like we saw in the website, or for example, we might want to have a horizontal layout where we could use a horizontal layout in forms. for example, right? On the
Exactly.
left side we have the label, and on the right side we have the trigger itself. Yeah,
Exactly. So I mean, this is completely up to us. We could say like instead of letting this be just a div that people wrap, we could say okay, let's call it the select control.
yeah,
So it kind of feels like that is the entire control of the select, but sometimes it can be misleading because the word control is probably not a good name for this. The label, it's not exactly a control; it's just a label, if you ask me.
yeah,
So for now, I'll just leave it as a div to simplify things, right? So this is kind of like the main structure, and as far as so if you come here to sort of like see what's going on, I think there's sort of like a quick overview of the API here. We've got labeling, which is like is required, and some sort of indicator there. That is for UI purposes, so we can skip that one. So they've got here the default selected key, right? And they've also got like on selection change, right? So these are two interesting properties we probably want to keep track of within our component here.
yeah.
So I imagine something like default value and then an onchange, which what is inside the onchange is completely up to us. So we could say onchange could give you what value has been selected, and that just works.
Question:
All right, go ahead.
we How would we enable multiple selection in this case? Or when we talk about select, we only talk about single selection?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to. If you have enough time, we can. I think we'll definitely go into that.
Mhm.
In cases where you want to enable multi selections, one of the key things, it doesn't exactly affect the behavior here. Usually, it affects like the trigger and like what gets displayed
Yeah.
in the trigger itself. So that's why we want to keep this an open API.
Mhm.
So we could, if you wanted to do multi selection within the trigger by default, we would render like, let's assume that the select here takes a placeholder, right?
Mhm.
So let's call it like select value. So by default, the select value, the trigger will contain one of the following. First one is the placeholder. That's, I mean, if no value is present, which means if there is no default value, we show the placeholder. Right. I'm talking about this select trigger right here.
Yeah.
So here
The
you see
first
that it
thing that's going
has
to be
yeah,
displayed.
yeah, it has no content. So I'm saying here that the default content or the default children of the trigger would be the placeholder or the selected value. Now, if it's a multi-selection, right? What I mean, what we can do then is we want to let the user like I mean in my mind, it's like you want to hand over the rendering of the items,
Mhm.
right? So you don't. I mean, we could do maybe default to comma separated lists. I mean,
Yeah.
that's completely up to us. But then in the end, we want the user to sort of like figure out how they want to render some. I mean, all of the items, right? So I mean, I imagine we would need some sort of like. I mean, some sort of like component to undo this. So like I'll call this let's just say selected value or values. It's a selected values is weird. But let's call this like select values maybe.
Yeah.
So this component here is where the user could I imagine they can use this to sort of like I mean style choose how they want to style that. Um, I mean just from an API standpoint. So by default it's going to we're going to accept something like multiple here.
Mhm.
And then based on that, we basically coordinate the behavior of that component. But let's not add multiple. Multiple might
Yeah.
definitely make the logic a bit more complex. We can start with just single select and see how far that goes.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool. So let's sort of like take a look at the behavior of this component. So if we click, so by default it starts out completely closed or idle. So you come here and you click on the trigger, it opens that menu, it opens the list box. Let me sort of like switch over to this example here because I see that one closes. By default, when I click on this, it opens the options, and then I can sort of like press the up and down key to navigate. I can also sort of like use my mouse to sort of like see the values, and I can pick any of these values, um, like so. Right. So if we start with just that basic behavior and see like how can we model this? So let's start with let's just do like some quick modeling in FigJam.
Yeah, so basically we're gonna do the states now, right? Which are the states that the select component could be in.
Yes, exactly. Before we jump into that, we probably want to sort of like give a quick overview of like state machines in general. Right. So, I mean, a state machine is basically like a way of modeling a complex application logic. I mean, using the finite state methodology. So the key requirements for those are you have finite number of states. A component, for example, has finite number of states. It's either open or it's closed, or you're interacting with it with the pointer, or you're using the keyboard. There's just finite number of things that can happen within that component, and the state machines is really beautiful here to. I mean, it basically takes away all that complexity and handles all that. It helps us to model that logic, pretty nicely. And then we've got like type of here finite number of events, which are like the key down, the press, the click, and all those different actions happen at the same time, right? And the last piece I call is like some sort of like contextual information or data. So sort of like the selected option is the data, which is kind of, some piece of data that you need to keep track of within the
Yeah,
state machine.
yeah, to persist basically. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So I'm going to hand this up to you. So let's do a sketch together here.
Okay.
So we've got so if we take a look at the select component one more time, we see here that it's got like it's initially I could call this close, or I could also call this like some sort of idle
Hmm.
state. And the reason why it's idle is basically no interaction. It doesn't have focus. It's not open. All of that. So it's just idle right now. Now, when it's idle, there are a couple of things I can do. Right. So I can press my tab key. Hopefully, I can figure out how to do that here. Yeah.
There we go.
So I can press the tab key to focus on that component. And then while I'm focused on the component, there's a fixed number of things I can do here. Right. So if I hit the space bar, I can use the space bar to open the component. If I hit enter, I can use enter to open the component. So we go from a focus state to an open state with a very specific set of events. So let's try to see how we can sort of like model this
Hmm.
within that select component there. So we start with boxes
Yeah.
that represent the states. So we got idle, nice.
Okay. Then we got the focused.
Here I've got the focus.
Which one was the
Then
next one?
I think when we focus, then it opens. So let's just put like open.
We have the open. Okay, there we go. I would put,
Yeah, I think
We'll
yeah,
see
just
later.
yeah. Okay, cool. So we've sort of figured out the key states that we need to design for here. So next we need to figure out what can we do to go from the idle to the focus state.
Mhm.
So one of the things I showed earlier is the fact that like when is idle, and we basically let me try and get to it. I can let's start with the keyboard. So I can at least press the tab key to get to the focus state. So if we with the tab key, we're basically let's just call that the focus event, right? So we don't want to be so explicit on the tab key
Yeah,
because you can programmatically focus on that item as well.
yeah. So when
Nice.
we're in the idle, if the focus event happens, we are transitioning to the focused state.
Awesome. Right, and while we're in the focus state, one of the key things we showed earlier as well is so right now I'm focused on that element. Obviously, many ways I can open this. The first thing I can do is to press the space bar.
Mhm.
So space bar takes us to the open state. Um, Enter also takes us to the open state. So
Okay.
let's start with modeling that.
How do we how do we define that? Should we define that as a certain key press that happens while we're in the focused state?
I think we can be more specific with the key press because there's a lot of keys on the keyboard. So we can
Mm-hmm.
say like enter key, or I mean enter key press or
Yeah.
space. Yeah,
So we got space key press, we got enter key press. Nope, not that. There we go. How else would we open basically the select from the focus state into the open aside
yeah.
from the aside from the key presses?
All right, so let's take a look and sort of like explore a bit. The other way I see here is by default. I mean, even generally speaking, it's a good affordance to be able to open that with the arrow keys as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the only arrow keys that can open this would be the arrow down and the arrow up keys. So we want to actually use we also want to support like using the arrow down and arrow up keys to open.
Okay, there we go. Arrow up, arrow down. And probably but just by clicking on it, right?
Exactly, and I think the click one is interesting because like at any point, whether it's idle or focus, you should be able to click on it to open it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need some sort of like we need like transitions from idle to open and focus to open using
Mm-hmm.
click.
But I guess before we actually click to open it, I guess we would hover on it, right? Can we consider hover as a valid state when we're talking about the select component?
Yeah, hover typically is like some sort of like UI detail. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't affect the logic of the component. It doesn't cause a change of state. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
cause like anything meaningful to happen except maybe if you just want to show some sort of like you want to change the background color or the border color. Those are like UI specific concerns. So we
Yeah.
want to actually separate those. So the only things we want to use here are like things that affect the logic of the select component.
Okay. So we're
Right.
talking about figuring a way to transition from idle or focused into the open state, right?
Yeah.
If we're
So
if we're clicking on it.
yeah, exactly. So let's have an arrow that points from idle to focused. I think yeah, we can just do click, and
There
then
we
from
go.
focused as well.
We can
I would
add
love
that
a
one.
separate. I would love a separate arrow for since like all of those are like keyboard,
Yeah,
like sort of key press family. Let's add one for like the pointer.
let's try. Let's actually try this.
I think we probably need to space this out a little bit more because we may have to model a bit more events than this one, so the diagram doesn't look too ugly.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
What else is, what's next?
What's next? Let's just take a look. All right. So by the way, using this example is not to say that like it's sort of like the gold standard. It's basically just trying to understand the behavior of that component. And there are many places we could go. We could go read the accessibility spec for the component and try to read it. Sometimes it feels like an encyclopedia, to be honest. But I think that like most people have gone through that process. We'll definitely still go through that process when we have a basic setup done, but then here we're just trying to sort of like get the key behaviors that we need for this like component. And of course, this is carbon design system, so you expect that a lot of thought and attention have been put to this component. All right, so right here, one other thing we can do anytime it's open, Lazar, anytime it's open and we hit the escape key, it takes us to the focus state.
Yeah, it goes back to the focused. Okay. Let's model that as well. I can do this. And we'll try. No, let's do it the other way around.
Yeah.
We are going to move this line so we have enough room for to put that one inside. There we go. So these events will trigger that line, and we can create a new transition. Oh man, this is getting escape key press. There we go. So we transition back to the focused state. And Sage, I can
Yeah, go
see
ahead.
some questions in the chat. Maybe we want to address them now or later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure which one works. Let's address them now, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, so Riyadh, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. He asks, would each select option be a node in the state machine?
No, not exactly. I mean, we'll get there, but will it, when you say node, I assume you mean an element. So yes, each solid option will be an element, I mean, but not in the state machine. It's just going to be in the DOM, and we're going to have to leverage like event delegation. So we're not going to be too concerned about like what's going on in each option. Like basically just gonna like listen to events on the list box, and from that we can actually like trigger. Trigger pass all that information to the machine. So it gets pretty tricky. There are many ways to model a component like that, but in the end, you don't want it to grow too complex. So it's just about managing that complexity by reducing the surface area the machine has to handle. Because even just with that event delegation alone, there's quite a lot of things that needs to happen. So I hope that answers your question, but you see as we go ahead.
Awesome, thank you, Sage. Should Zag be used for custom components alongside Chakra UI? I can answer this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're creating custom components in Chakra UI and you want to be smart about how they behave and even get some of the pre-made stuff into Zag.js, then by all means, yes, you can use Zag.js in combination with Chakra UI to create custom components. And there is one last question from Yerbo. Is there a reason why you wouldn't add UI changes to the states?
Yeah, I think you have to keep watching to actually understand that fully. So by UI changes, I assume you mean like the point you raised last are about the hover state, and invalid state and stuff like that. I think uh, again, it's not. This is not like a. When I say this, I'm not saying that it's the only way to model the component, but this is based on my experience. This is sort of like the best way that I've found that works for me. So the key idea is we need to identify states or variables that are just purely UI based, and I just want to pass the bare minimum complexity to my machine, or the bare minimum information that will actually get the logic working, because the logic in itself is complex. So we want to just stay simple, and you see the complexity of this component grow as we keep working on this. But it's best to start simple, so we don't blow our heads off right now on the live stream. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right, let's continue then.
Hey, a bit more things to note here. Let's explore some more.
Mhm.
So one behavior I found while I was playing with this component here is when it's open, and I hit the tab key, it basically closes and it never goes to it never goes back to the focus state. So this means it closes. I'm not even sure if it selects the option that I'm currently focused on.
No,
No,
just
it
jumps out
doesn't.
of it. Yeah.
It just jumped out of it. So it closes that. I mean, that is up to us to then figure out, is that the behavior we want?
Hmm.
We can figure, when we get into the machine, we can sort of like figure out how do we change that behavior such that you could do something like select on tab. And then when a user passes that option, we'll make sure we select that option before closing. But all of that behavior, we can model that later on. So we need to model the fact that like pressing the tab key from the open state definitely takes us back to let me sort of like takes us back to the idle. I mean, what did I just say? Pressing the
Yeah.
tab key from the open state takes us back to the idle,
Hmm.
and I believe that is actually a blower, not exactly a key press, a tab key press, because
Got it.
I'm also trying to pay attention to programmatic usage as
Hmm.
well. So like imagine if I did like if I just like at some point I just do something like list box dot blower,
Yeah,
or I do trigger dot blower. I mean that that this is a valid dumb method, so we need to also be careful with
totally.
those
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, and
Blur is also
then
clicking away, right? Instead of just hitting tab, I can also click away from the select and the blur event will happen and we'll go back to the idle state in that case as well.
yeah, exactly. Blow gets pretty tricky, but yeah, that one. Let's see. I think when you're focused, you can when you're also focused on the trigger and you press the tab key, it's also with blur, right? So we're
Yeah,
going back to the idle state.
let's see how we can do that. Oh man, okay. Probably like this.
Yeah, take your
I'm
time. I
just
mean, we could have used like
spacing out.
the stately AIs like VS Code extension to do this, but I don't want to have to teach new concepts here. So FigJam is kind of okay for now.
Yeah, it does the job.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just space this out. There we go.
Yeah, I don't see the arrow though. The arrow going this focus state right
Yeah,
here. Yeah, this
what happened to it?
disappeared.
There is an arrow, I can see it here, but it's just gone.
Yeah, let's just connect at a different point, maybe. Maybe like use this point right here.
Nope. Wow. Okay.
Weird. Yeah, let's maybe we should sort of like edit this one so it goes like all the way to the top, like so.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
awesome.
There we go.
All right, so you see that's kind of looking already like clumsy and like so many things going on already. I mean, this is one thing this is one of the things I love the most about state machines. It's like you can already see the logic of that component without having to start writing code. I mean, the next 30 minutes or so, we're gonna get into the code and try to figure all this out. I mean, I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish the entire component. Maybe we'll do another string for that. But let's see how far we can go here today.
Hmm.
All right, that's not all. Yes. The final thing I see here is we've got like, let's try to explore the focus state a bit more. So I'm focused now. One neat thing I see here is if I press like up or I'm pressing the O key, you see here that it's sort of like selecting the option.
Okay, without actually opening the menu, right?
Exactly. Without actually opening the menu. And I believe this is sort of like the default behavior of the select component, of the default select component. So if you go back to like all those examples we saw that used, what is one of those examples? I think Node. Let's look for the Node design system. Yeah, let's go. Let's open this one. So this is, we've got 50 per page, 25 per page, 100. Now I'm focused on this. If I press five, you see that it selects that automatically.
Okay.
If I press like one, it goes to like the 100 per page. So that's letting you know that this is sort of like a behavior of the native select component, which they've tried to mimic here, which is awesome.
Okay, so that's basically like any key press that would match with some of the values, right?
Yes, we
It does
want
the
to
selection.
select.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that would
but
mean
we
that it's going to go out from the focus state and back into the focus state because we're not going to the open and we're also not going to the idle. So it's like a circular transition.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sort of like a self transition there. It's still in the focus state. It's just gonna do some actions, right? So let's do something like, so here I just try and maybe sketch something here. I don't know how to draw these arrows. You draw Lazar, but let's just put some text on screen. Let's call this like let's just call it key press, all right? So
Mm-hmm.
the main idea here, when I'm not sure how we're going to connect that to the focus state, but the key idea here is I'm going to use a keyword called do, which is how you sort of like explain what is going to happen, what's going to happen in that when that event gets fired. So let's say select matching option.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like the main idea I'm trying to express here. It doesn't cause a change of state. So I wonder how we can use some arrows to model that there. But see if we can try maybe.
Let me see. Because we can put arrows like this so they're not connected.
Okay.
Okay, but how do we get it back now?
Yeah, we've got to. I think we can remove the arrows, so it's not exactly
Mm-hmm.
just it's not exactly an arrow per se. It's just something that happens in that node.
Yeah.
So how we get it back? Maybe we draw another arrow that's there without the arrow tip, so it's kind of clear what's
What if
going
we
on.
used something like a circle to
Yeah, that's
indicate an
fine.
action, like an action,
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
because it's circular, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. So let's see what else. Let's see what else we can do here. In the open state, the we've got like some keyboard stuff that happens in there. So when we press the key down or the key up, you see that we actually like we can. I mean, there are a couple of things we can do here to interact with the options. The first one is I call it just like keyboard navigation. So with the keyboard navigation event up and down specifically, I can basically navigate through the options. Right, and also by pressing like any key in this open state, it's also selecting like the value option that matches. So I'm pressing the O key right now. So I press O, wait for a little bit, press O again, wait for a little bit, press O. It cycles through the options.
We have the option that starts on O, right?
Yes, exactly. So we've got like arrow keys, and we've also got like just like key press in general, and just using that as a means to select an option.
Okay. And how do we define that? Like, how do we define when we are in the open state and we're basically either, cycling between the values,
Yep.
but we haven't selected anything yet, right? We're just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
hovering on the another options, but we haven't clicked or pressed enter or anything like that. How do we define that?
Yeah, that's what gets us into let's do something I like to do like let's just do like a diamond here. Um I call this maybe just make this one white. I want like the one with the outline. Okay. So I call this one the contextual information or the context. I make it large. Maybe just change this to look more like a store, some sort of data. Um, so here we've got like the contextual information, and one of the key pieces we want to track is sort of like we can call this maybe the focus or highlighted index.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, closed. Okay. I wish we could align this somehow. Let's give it to the center. So that's sort of like a piece of context typo here. We call that the highlighted index. Highlighted is such a long word. Let's just do focus index. So in focus index to mean that the option that's currently focused either with the pointer or the keyboard. We want to sort of keep track of that. So out here, Lazar, we probably want to do some sort of let's do like on our arrow keys, arrow up and down keys. So this key
Mm-hmm.
is right here. Um, we are still in the open state, so we'll probably use this your nice circle here. So it would remain in the open state.
Wow, that is terrible. Let me do that again.
Yeah.
Okay. And basically we could do the same here. When we are in the open state, we could press or like trigger any of these events, and then we'll get to the key press action, right? That does something. But then this something probably is gonna dip into the context
Yeah, so
right here and do
I think you
something.
missed you probably missed something there. So the main idea here is like not that this event will cause it to come here because this is not a state.
Yeah.
It's just so what I would do here is basically just like move these ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just do arrow up, arrow down, maybe
Mm-hmm.
just like to denote like all those. I think those are the key ones that can actually like trigger that. We have here. So here, all of these options, what it's gonna do here is mostly like set the focused index.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Right.
all
And
that like navigation is going to do.
mm-hmm.
Right. So if we come back here again and sort of like just continue that, I think we talked about like pressing the key, just any random key press. We try to do that, right? So we've also got just like an event here, which means if you press any key, you saw the other time when I pressed O key, it was cycling through the options.
Yeah.
So instead of select matching option, we can say focus matching option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can help us draw an arrow from the open state here as well, just to show that it's not exactly a state transition. It's a little bit weird to see this dot here, though.
Yeah, it's left over. There we go.
Oh yeah, nice, nice. So that's it. So here we've got like key press, arrow key is while I'm open, and then while I'm navigating through, I'm thinking about this a little bit more now. Let's start simple. I've got some ideas here. I could figure it out. I think maybe the open state may need to expand a bit more into different sub states.
Okay.
But let's try like start simple here. So the last thing here is like when I press the enter key in the open state, it should select the option and then close. Go back to the focus state. So let's see what the interaction looks like here. So we do arrow down, arrow up, and then I press enter. That would
Yeah.
select the focus option and then go back to the focus state.
Right. So
So
we
those
have
are the
even, yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
we have also a transition between two states, and also we have like invoking an action,
An
right?
action, exactly. So now we need an arrow from the open state to the focus state. That is like the arrows are getting really weird right now.
Yeah. Let me just make a room. Oh man. Okay. How would I how would I add this? Because we will okay, let's just put it here. I know it's crazy, but so there we go.
Yeah, we
Another
could move this
arrow
one. We could move this group out.
outside. Yeah,
Yeah, so it gives us enough room.
there we go. So instead of a circle, we'll bring back the line basically. Here is
Yeah.
the escape right here, and we also have another state right here. Here probably. That's going to be the enter key press. What about if you press space bar while you have a selection?
Good point. Let's see what happens. So I open up the select and I press spacebar. Exactly the same
Yeah,
thing. So
same thing.
spacebar enter.
So we got the enter and space, and we also wanna do this was the set focused index.
Yep.
Right. So from the open, if we press either the space or enter, we're gonna transition into the focused state, but then also do or like invoke the set focused index action, right? We can call these actions, right? Is that the correct
Yeah, it's
terminology?
called here it's called actions.
Awesome.
So it's sort of be like it's more like maybe not like set focus index. It would be
Mm-hmm.
something like select
Okay.
focus option.
Actually, yeah.
We want to actually describe it like it happens in the UI at least. So we don't want to get into like the index. We may not even end up using index because index is probably a bad one. We could use ID.
Yeah.
Sort of like so we just remove the word the index because that index is not a good one. I've learned from experience like using index is a bad idea sometimes.
Yeah.
So here we've got like a transition. I don't think this transition is so obvious, but yeah, not bad. Maybe we move it back a bit, and we can just like let them go right from the same point, like so.
Yeah.
This is not looking as pretty. But it's okay. Okay,
Okay.
nice. Awesome. Maybe we also rotate this one. This is like goes like click. Yeah, this should be fine. And no, rotate the other way. It's like escape is facing the.
This one or the other one?
I think maybe the other one. Yeah, this one reads weird. Oh no, I think it's in the direction of the state node is going to. So let's keep it the other way.
Actually, yeah, good point. Yeah. The
Yeah,
way that you're basically reading it, it gives you the direction where the.
direction exactly.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that this covers like most of the cases here. Let's see if there are any other edge cases here that we need to think about. So if we hover in this one, and so see like I mean mouse pointer when your pointer is over an option, it also sets the focus option. All right, so you can see my interactions here. It's more like if I hover on point option one
Mm-hmm.
and I press the down key, you can
Right.
see that it goes to point option two.
It actually does the
And if
focus.
exactly, so if I'm on option two and I press the down key,
Yeah.
it goes to option three. The question is if that's the behavior we want, but we can keep that discussion for another time. And just try to like get through the practice of this select logic. So let's sort of add that logic, which is the pointer. Pointer. Should we say like pointer over, pointer move? So
Pointer
maybe
enter, or like, yeah. So basically, when it enters on the specific option, that's when it actually focuses it.
yeah. So let's add that. I think it should be part of this, guys. Right here, exactly.
Yeah. Painter, pointer, pointer, enter. Focus is not, so now it's not going to be the matching option, but it's going to be just
Just
focus
focus
option.
option, exactly.
Yeah. And let's bring back one more arrow with a circle at the end because it's circular. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I think this pretty much covers like everything we need. Um, awesome. Let me grab some water and then move on from here. Okay, how do you feel about this, Lazo?
I think, yeah, as you mentioned, I think we have good coverage on the behaviors.
Yeah, we can maybe add some more later on, but this gives us enough coverage for the behavior. So if you sort of come over here to the steps, we see here we've got like API research, we have some quick research,
Mm-hmm.
probably like way less than I would do on a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of time, I don't want to bore you guys out watching me geek out on all these components. Then here we've got logic sketching. That is exactly what we've done now. So next we want to go into sort of like just UI design. I probably call this one like machine design, and then put the build. So let's really
Mm-hmm.
go over to UI design. Let's see what we can do there.
Before,
So
sorry, before we go to the UI design, I have a question.
Yeah, go
maybe
ahead.
in this case with the select component, it's not going to be a requirement, but if we were talking about any other component, we should also do we want to take into account the R2L or like right to left uh, option on, like, for example, the Arabic languages when designing the machine?
Yes,
Is that
that's
something that we
actually
need to consider, for example, to make, the accessibility even further by supporting the Arabic languages or the R2L languages? But in this
yeah.
case, I'm not sure if we have anything to do other than just flip the layout. For example, the arrow up and down are still gonna be up and down, right? We're talking about the flip on of the basically of the X axis, right?
Yeah, true, correct. I think you answered the question already. Yeah, mostly because like we don't have any direction specific interaction here.
Mhm.
If we had like arrow left and arrow right, those would be crucial to think about, like flipping that interaction in RTL. But we
Mhm.
don't have like any direction specific. I mean, as far as left to right is concerned, at least we don't have any direction specific action here. If we had those, we probably maybe if you, I mean, add something else to the context, something like RTL, so we
Yeah.
can actually like keep that value in and use that to sort of like tweak the behavior
Mhm.
of that machine. But right now we don't.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I do a little bit of a cleanup. I just remove all this like
The
um
presses.
yeah, let's remove all the presses, I think.
Okay, except for the vague one, which is the key press.
Yeah, that one makes
We'll keep
sense.
that one
Yeah, we keep that one.
because it's just gonna be key. Okay. I actually pressed up to select the remaining text and it didn't work. Okay. Oh, one more. No, no, no. That's the vague one. Key press. These two. We'll just leave them like this.
Hey, I think it's a lot cleaner now at least. So we don't mess up the entire diagram. All right, so now we have most of these. The next thing we want to probably talk about is this context piece right here, which is, do we have enough? Remember, I call this like, this is also, you can also call this data. Like, I mean, is this all the data we need to drive the machine, or do we need some more information here? Obviously, we don't need RTL right now.
Should we keep all the options that are provided? Are we gonna
No,
need them
yeah,
in
we
there?
don't.
No.
Yeah, we're not gonna need them in there. It's
Yeah.
not the concern of the machine. The machine is just to get the logic working.
Yeah.
There, in some cases, you may need to do that, and we get into those advanced cases of like when you have many, like thousands and thousands of options. It's really hard to rely on just the dump tree because the dump tree is going to be very heavy. So you want to do things like virtualization.
Mm-hmm.
And in those cases, you may need to load the data up front so you can like handle the behavior correctly as you
Yeah.
move from like different views in the virtualized container. But we don't need that right now. It's just
Mm-hmm.
very, again, we start simple. We
Yeah.
can blow our heads off if we go that complex right now.
This is MVP one, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, this is MVP one, exactly. But it's not too MVP actually, because the end result is going to be pretty robust already.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So let's see here. I think like one key thing that we probably need to talk about is this
All right. The
that piece of
disabled state. Yeah.
information.
Good
Yeah,
point.
because the key idea here is like none of this is meant to work. Like, I mean, you don't want to do any of this logic if it's disabled. So we need to sort of like keep track of that one, I think, at least. So let's just sort of like do a quick look up here. You got ID, you got label text.
Tell me, in this case, disabled and read-only would just be a UI difference, right?
Say, I would say that like read only, at least the thing with read only is that read only may get you to the focus state at best, but
No.
nothing more.
Yeah, so the furthest we can
Yeah.
go is the focus, but we cannot actually do some changes, right?
Yeah, like all of those events are not gonna happen if it's read only.
Yeah, we
So
can't change
I
the
mean, in the
values.
end,
Yeah.
it's completely up to us. Like, do we want to like keep that as a concern of the machine? Because it feels like a more like there's not much difference between disabled and read only, except that you can focus
Yeah.
on that item. And if you can focus and not do anything, it's basically like you can pretty much just, yeah, I mean, it's just maybe not a concern of the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just sort of like keep both of them together as brothers.
Hmm.
We figure out what we want to do with them when we get there. So let's get into some code. So we don't. I think we spent enough time on this one. So I've got code sandbox set up. So Lazarus, if you want to like quickly, let's just set up like a quick select component. We've got a button, we've got a list, and then we can just like start creating the machine. Following you right now. Yeah, so the key pieces we want to include here, mostly the label part, and then we've got the trigger, and then we've got a list box, and inside that list box we've got the label is here. We've got a button to represent the trigger. Yeah, so thinking about the resulting or the final HTML structure is important here, so we can attach the correct like accessibility attributes and things like that, and behaviors to the components.
Hmm. For the menu, should we pick like a lists element here?
Not really. You could. Let's do that for now.
Just a list, right?
Yeah, that's it. That should be like maybe like a UL element, maybe.
Yes, non-ordered lists. And inside we have list items with a certain value, like options, just one.
Yeah, you can skip the value part, I guess, for now. And what I would recommend, let's create an array of options for now that we would work with, so we can map over those in the UI.
Mm-hmm. So we just want a string array, right? Nothing more complex.
And let's do an object of label and value, so it's kind
Okay.
of a bit more realistic, at least. An array
Yeah.
of objects.
An array of objects.
Yes.
I'll just say one. Then we have the two.
Yeah, just four is fine, I guess,
Okay.
for now.
Just four?
Yeah, just four. No worries.
Okay, there we go.
And
We
then in
can
the
look through
UI,
this.
let's look through them. Yeah, and looping through them, we have to provide a key in
Yeah.
React. Awesome.
Okay.
So that is as far as like just the basic UI. So let's switch over to preview in Code Sandbox and do some styling. So
Okay,
the
so
very so the first treatment I'm gonna say here is let's include a code is just a like a I mean maybe a data attribute or a class to each of these items. I would do a data attribute. So let's go with this part to label. On that part the trigger. This would be the option. That would be the list box,
list
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 box,
box.
and then that would be the option. All
Do
right.
we have a name for the label and button wrapper?
I'm not sure. I can take a look at the anatomy here in this component from Carbon Design System. They've got label, they've got helper text, they've got field, they've got option, and they've got menu. All right, so there's no name for that one.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So let's give it a bit more styling, I guess.
Okay. Inline
This was
or based on the parts?
based on the parts CSS. So we can write some
Okay.
basic CSS here. I mean, just to get things going for sure.
Okay, so we had the data part equals to, let me just go back. We have the label, we have the trigger. I I I don't think we need to name or like add a data attribute here in order to change the layout to be like a vertical layout, for example.
Yeah, you may not need a data part. You can just do a class name or something, right? But these data parts are the data part attribute is useful. It's going to be useful in the machine to select elements in the DOM.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have them.
Okay. All right. So let's then add a class name. We can call this. Uh, I like the
We
control thingy, but you gave a really good point about it. I don't know how should we
Yeah, just
call
call
this
it form control
field.
because in the end it feels like a form control of like or control. I think control is fine actually.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So we can set the display to flex, for example. Set the flex direction to column. We should see these one below the other. There we go. They're on the left. And I don't know, probably like the row gap. We can set the row gap to 6 pixels. Just so there's like a little space between them.
Yeah, let's do a flex start so it doesn't stretch.
Yeah.
Um I
Sorry,
think it's
align.
align. Yeah, align
Items.
items.
Flex. Start. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
Next one.
let's see. Let's just build like a default like yeah, let's do the next one. I think we can stick to that for now.
Okay. We have the label and the trigger. The
I think we
label.
can yep.
Do you think we should do anything on the label itself?
Nah, we can skip that
No.
one. Let's go to I mean I'll definitely maybe like skip over to the list box on the
Mm-hmm.
trigger maybe.
Okay, let's check out the trigger first. What's the arrow warning here?
You have to put some styles.
Probably, yeah. Okay, so what do we don't want to do here? We have the
Yeah, let's just
button.
make it look fancy, I guess. Width, height, and padding, whatever combinations you prefer.
Okay. All right, let's see. We want to do a padding of, let's see, 8 pixels and like 12 pixels. Okay. Let's get rid of the border. Let's set the font weight to medium. Is that? Nope.
I mean, not much. So I'm
Nah,
gonna just switch
doesn't
over
matter.
to I'm gonna switch over to React icons, so I can grab you an SVG for a carrot.
For the carrots, yeah. Carrots.
Here, so let's see. I'm trying to find a nice one here. I guess I'll just keep picking one. Okay, so it's
The
picking
BI is
one.
okay. That one.
Yeah, BI. All right, so quick one, just like grab that SVG directly in there, copy element. We'll switch over here to code sandbox. Create the caret icon, or maybe caret is just fine. And then we do caret return that element right there. No props for now.
Mhm.
Export. Okay, so
Nice.
let's include the card in there.
There's the carrots, and I believe it's going to be inside. Is this gonna work? There we go.
Yeah, it's gonna
So
be
we
inside.
also have the label and the carrot. Should we
You
don't
can put that one in a spawn at least for now.
yeah. I was thinking about the like isolating it so it's not directly out of it. Okay. We have the trigger now. We have the carrots. Carrot. Is that how you pronounce it? Carrots.
All right.
Okay. What else? I believe we want to do a display flex in this case as well.
Yeah,
We
one day
want to
flex,
do
give it some space between the label and the caret.
yeah. And actually, I want to do justify content space between. So if we, for example, set the width to, I don't know, 300 pixels and actually make this width to 100%, the carrot is always going to be on the right side. The
Yeah, that works.
carrot.
That works.
Okay, and we can also provide some minimum column gap. Let's add, and this is gonna be a bigger one, so I would say 16 pixels, like one round. Yeah,
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's fine. This works.
that's awesome. All right, so we want to do also cursor is pointer, and maybe also set the cursor to be the pointer on the label itself. What do you
So
think about that?
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We can add that. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Let me just quickly
Yeah,
do the label
quickly.
here. Cursor is pointer. I had it. There we go. There
Nice.
we go.
Cool. So let's quickly sort of like style out the list and the options.
Okay, so we have the list box right here. I would say we do want a background to
Yeah,
some sort of a light gray. I don't know about this. Ooh, okay.
yeah, it's fine.
We want to add some padding, and this padding is going to be like a unified one, 8 pixels. And since this is a list, we want to set the list style to none, so it doesn't have these little dots right
Yep.
here. Maybe we want to, yeah, this is 8 pixels, but we probably want to do 10 pixels.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
12, 16. I'm not
No, wait a
sure.
minute. Actually, we don't need the padding here. We're gonna add the
You need it on
padding
the
to the
option. Yeah,
to the options. So when we hover on it, we don't see. I'm just gonna set it to 0 because it has a default one.
yeah.
Okay, the width. Shall we do like content, min content, fit content?
I think maybe max content. It's fine.
Yeah, and should we also want to like? Should we also do max width of some sort of maximum?
Yeah,
Or
so
we
I
don't
think
want to do.
one thing we need to talk about that we haven't talked about is, how do we want to like do some sort of positioning, dynamic positioning of that item, of the list? So, or do we just want to like, we just stick to like, it's always going to be below the trigger and that's it. That's also an option. But if you want to do some sort of dynamic positioning,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we may need an additional like wrapper that handles positioning, and then just let the
Yeah,
list box be the UI. So
yeah,
that's something that's worth considering here. So we may want to wrap the list box within an extra container.
either that, or we have the div as the wrapper, right? We have the control and the trigger right here.
Yeah.
And when we open the menu, we basically want to be below the trigger in most
Yeah.
cases, right? Unless we're
Yeah.
on the...
Keep in mind that this may be absolutely positioned, and there's a high chance it might also be in a portal, since you don't want it to affect the layout flow.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
because I
so
was
it's not going
thinking
to be
set...
exactly the way you have it here, right? Because this is going to be ported to the body.
Yeah.
All right, and if it's going to be ported to the body, this, I mean, it's not going to follow this structure in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it
because
looks more like this actually. I mean, final this fragment would remain in the DOM, but then
yeah,
this one would be teleported to
thrown
the
to the...
body.
yeah, to the portal. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
and then how do we, for example, get the positioning of the trigger so that we can move the list box where the trigger is?
Yeah, we do some dynamic positioning in the end. I think there's floating UI or like any of these positioning libraries can
Mm-hmm.
help us achieve that. But that's purely, I mean, just a UI,
Yeah,
a UI artifact anyways. So
yeah.
what we can do is let's wrap up, like let's just wrap this in an extra container.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say an extra container here is mostly because most people would want to animate the list box.
Okay.
All right, so if you imagine if you wanted to do some sort of nice transition, you don't want to transition the positioner, whatever
Yeah.
is responsible for position, and you want to transition to list box. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more like you are splitting up that concern to say use the positioner to position it dynamically on the page, and then use the list box for the functionality and the logic, and you can also use it for fancy animation or transitions as well.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
All right, so
We'll
that will
just...
affect the styles a little bit. So this, the max content here would go to the
to the
positioner.
positioner. Yeah.
We may not need to do anything else other than just like moving that max content. So the positioner is always there in the DOM.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's see. Yeah, let's make this look fancy.
Okay.
Maybe like a min width or some sort of width to the list box.
To the list box.
Or we just make that width 100%, or let it just like stretch out the way, maybe.
Okay, but now we have the positioner limiting the width of the list box.
Okay, then
And that is...
we do a min width on the line 30. Yeah, that
yeah,
one. So we do maybe 320 pixels, something a bit more fancy along those lines. Probably too big.
yeah.
Yeah, let's make
Okay.
it. Let's style the options now.
Okay, so let's add the 8 and like 12 and see how it looks like. There we go. Let's also do the hover right here where the background is gonna be something darker than this.
Yes.
Okay, we can't click on the actual thingy, but this is EF, 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 EF. Let's actually do AF, or this gonna be too dark. Yeah,
Yeah, we can. I mean, we can grab some color scheme anywhere else. I mean, we can just get this one going. It's probably too dark. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Then there's also like this one is currently just like the hover with the pointer. Remember we talked about some sort of focus state as well.
yeah. That should be darker if it's
And so
focused.
that should be darker. So we can use an extra data attribute. Let's just call it data dash focused. And then with that attribute, we'll set the background.
Yes, and we'll set that to be, I don't know, let's do the darker one. Focused. There we go.
Yeah, we'll
Now
do
let's
a
also...
combination actually. So it should be the selector there should maybe be
oh,
like
yes, the option.
option. Yeah.
But wait, the option can also have the focused. or you're talking about data focused is true and then depart is option.
Yeah, exactly. The part is option. So you can just
Yeah.
chain them by putting it there.
How was this with a comma? No.
Oh, so ideally you do like
Ah,
two
separate
different
one.
square
Yeah, two
brackets.
different
Yeah.
ones. There we go.
So
Yeah,
maybe we don't need to do equals to true. We can just like assume that
just
data
do
focus. Yeah.
data focus. Yeah. Okay. Let's also add a transition of the background. Let's set it to 0.15. Ease out. It doesn't actually work.
One second, I'm gonna do like that. Otherwise, it's undefined. So this is what the focus option looks like.
Yeah, the third option.
Yeah, compare that against the hover. So I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So comment that one out.
Okay.
All right, I think so. We can just maybe do like an overall font. Just make this look a little bit more pretty. Font family on that one.
Let's do SF Pro. And then sans serif. Okay. The
Okay,
options are the font of the options
too
is
big.
way big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably bring them down to 12 pixels or something like that.
Okay. There we go. We also want to do cursor is pointer because we will be picking from them. Okay, cool. What else?
Yeah, let's stop here for now. So we can go
Mhm.
into some sort of like modeling of the machine. Okay, cool. So the next thing that we want to do is take a look at the structure that we've got here. They're very basic. Just JSX elements with some data part attributes for styling. It doesn't exactly have any semantic meaning just yet. So we need to give this structure some sort of semantic meaning by associating the positioner with the control or the trigger. You're making some changes to CSS, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
I
cool,
just
cool,
wanted
cool.
to bring back the transition. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Sweet. So let's try to see how we can add a bit more semantics to this component.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll add over to we'll do a quick search on the author and spec. I think this has changed. Yeah, I think I have the latest one there. So if you come right here into, I believe it's a list box here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's sort of like see what is going on there for a list box. So you've got like scrollable list box with group options. Let's see what this looks like. I think it's just like a bare minimum like list box that's just out there in the open.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
have a
let's
trigger.
doesn't have a trigger. I think it may be the combo box because the default select component reads as a combo box. So let's come here to combo box. There should be a select only combo box right there.
Yeah.
All right, so this gives us a pretty good enough structure. So we've done this UI already. So basically, you see like everything working here. So you can select an option. I mean, it may not. Typically, I think I saw a warning about this recently that you just use this as a guide, not like as the holy bible of building components. So let's sort of like just take the best we can from this component here.
Yeah.
So we've got all this covered. If you remember correctly, maybe we just follow the naming convention as well, like tab, enter, instead of like
Mm-hmm.
all the key press that we have going on
Key
there.
press stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here they call this printable character. So maybe that's definitely like an interesting name.
Mm.
And they've also got some alt keyboard combinations that does like specific things right there. Right, but let's keep that one. So what we want to focus on here are the roles, properties, states, and tab index attributes. The key thing you want to take a look at here is this structure right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like this seems completely broken because they don't have like the options in there, but that's okay. So here we see like the label as an ID,
Mm-hmm.
and then the control or the list box. I think this is actually the trigger is as an area controls that points to the ID of the list box.
Yeah.
So let's just take it one by one here. The first thing we want to do is give the label an ID,
Okay.
and then on the list box itself, we add a role of list box, and we say the list box is labeled by
The
that
labels.
ID exactly. So we start
Oh
with that
wait,
one.
it's like okay, it's combo one label. Okay, we're adding the ID to the label itself. Then we have the area labeled by label. So we're
Awesome.
connecting the
Yeah, then
label and the
let's give this a
list.
role of list box. It's just role. Yes, not
It's just
area
row, yeah.
role. Yeah, just role.
List box. There we go.
Awesome.
What about the trigger? What did we have?
Yeah, we're gonna get there for
Controls.
sure.
Yeah.
So you want to give the list box also an ID.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we'll say that the area controls of that.
The
We may
trigger.
maybe need to tweak this a bit, but let's just put area controls points to the trigger. So that way we establish that semantic relationship between the trigger and the list box.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say like area expanded is true or false, depending on the open or close state, but we'll figure that one out. Just give
Okay.
it a default value for now. And then area has pop up equals list box.
There we go. There was also
Nice.
another one. Oh, labeled by. Yeah, it's also labeled by.
Yeah, I've got like the list box is labeled by that label as well.
Yeah.
And then I think that's pretty much it. We give the list box a negative tab index so we can focus on it with the pointer.
-1.
Yeah, I think that should be a number.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so that I think that sort of like covers that. I see that we've got like, so let's go through all the properties. We looked at the combo box, which here means the trigger. We have area labeled by, area controls, area expanded, true or false. We have the active descendant.
Mm-hmm.
So typically there are two ways of managing disclosure or like drop down components like this. ARIA active descendant is one of those, and the other one is they call it like a roving tap index. But we just stick to this one because it's a little bit like at least a bit more easier to work around for our MVP
Mm-hmm.
component. So ARIA active descendant points to the ID of the focus option. So right now, just put ARIA active descendant with a dummy ID for
Okay.
now.
We're talking about the list box because it says combo
Yeah,
box. Are we talking about
the list
the
box.
full? Okay. Let me just place that here. Area active descendant.
I think that's actually pointing to the
What this
trigger.
is.
Sorry, so that goes to the trigger.
It's on the trigger, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now it shows me a warning.
Yep.
Identifies the element which contains the is not supported by the roll button.
Yeah.
This
So we
roll
swap
is
this out.
implicit.
We have to swap that button out with like something else. So you can swap it out with a div
Mm-hmm.
instead. Yeah, with the tab index 0 to start.
Okay.
Yeah, and that breaks the default styling. So we probably just like tweak that default styling quickly.
Okay, it's already 16. Yeah. Is this good?
Yeah, I think we can drop the font size a bit. We can drop the font size, make it smaller.
14 or 12. Okay. And also probably on the label itself again. Yeah.
Cool. So one thing I'll do is I'll come right here to the SVG and make this one hidden. Because when you have a decorative icon like this within a focusable element, that's it. I mean, you want to just make sure that the screen readers don't read this, read
The
that
SVG.
SVG out. So we just like hide that with ARIA hidden. I'm thinking about this ARIA, active descendant. My intuition tells me that this should actually be a property on the list box itself, not on that UL. All right, so this is already a tabbable element. Something that might use focus must be tabbable. This is already solved. Um, I'm not sure. I don't think this should actually be. This should be tab index of -1. Let's ignore this warning for now. I think it's actually fine. So we can actually bring back the
The
button
button.
as we had before. Because the reason I say this is mostly because when the select is open, the focus would remain. The focus would be moved to the UL. So we can listen to like key down and key up from the list box here. And then when you do key up and key down, the active descendant will keep changing. Right. So what we want to do here is let's just give it an ID that matches the value for now.
Okay.
Right. So we can say like the active descendant is maybe
It's
2.
just, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that way we can establish that relationship between them.
Awesome.
Okay. Looks like we're running out of time. Maybe we stop at this point and then maybe model the machine on another live stream. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. We have the code sandbox safe, the select component one. Is true. Focused.
I'm just gonna create a bunch of let me just call this like some sort of like data, or maybe not, a bunch of variables, so at least we can sort of like make sure that these are connected correctly. So data dash focus is if the value here matches the focus option in there. All right, so right now we can just like tweak this 1 to 2 to 3
Yeah.
just to see like how that works. And then we want to change that area expanded property attribute to match is open. So can you tweak that to line 36? Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we come here. I think we have to do a role of option here. And
We should also
then
change this, the active descendant, to be
it
the
points to
focused
the,
option. Oh no, it's actually not. Is it the focused option? Or it's not, it's the active, the selected one, right?
yeah, selected one. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the selected one is always going to be 2. But the focused one, we can change it from the focused option variable.
Oh, well, it depends actually. I think it may need to be sort of like the focused one, because if I'm changing the selection, if I'm using the keyboard to navigate on that select, I need to know like what option has been focused right now. You get what I
So,
mean? So like
yeah.
if I'm not if I'm just using my keyboard and I focus on that and I press down, 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 up, like I need to actually get some active announcement on that. So I think this should actually match the focused option.
This was a string, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. That one's okay. So if you come back here to the spec, we're looking at. I can see that we've got like a role of option and then ARIA selected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sort of like the thing we want to do if an option is selected.
Mm-hmm.
So you say this is specified on an option in the list box when it is visually highlighted as selected. Occurs only when an option in the list is referenced by ARIA active descendant.
So active descendant is the selected item, but we need to mirror that on the option level with the area selected, right?
Yeah, ARIA exactly.
Okay, area selected, if the value equals to the focused option, and we want to say true, otherwise we want to say false.
Yeah,
So
I
when
think
we
we're
change to number 2, the active descendant is going to be set to 2, the area select is going to be set to true, and also the data focused is going to be present.
okay. All right, so we have I mean we have some progress from there. So now we at this point I would say that we've connected the DOM, we've styled the UI, we've added all these different attributes we need to add. I mean another piece of information that we need to maybe like keep track of as well, which is like the selected option. So how do we know when
Mm-hmm.
an option is selected? So let's just say the selected option is 3, 4, for example. We
Mm-hmm.
also need to keep track of the placeholder, and then figure out like how do we change the UI in the button with this variable right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for example, we'll show the placeholder if the selected option is undefined, right?
Or null, maybe. Yeah.
Or null, yeah. But if it is, we want to show the label basically of the selected option.
All right, let's take care of that.
Okay, so let's go here. If the selected option does not exist, then we want to say placeholder. Otherwise, we want to say options dot find. We have the value, where the value is equals to the selected option.
Yeah, I think selected option is
Dot
so
label,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, one thing we can do though is for the selected option, instead of just keeping track of the value of that selected option, we can do like
The object.
label and value. Same
Mm-hmm.
way we have that stuff. We have these properties in the options. So
Mm-hmm.
we can say maybe option 4. So this is setting the expectation for how we want the machine
Mm-hmm.
to provide this UI. So this is sort of like the mental process I follow. Like you need to sort of like define all the requirements for the machine, and then you switch over to modeling that. That'll make it like a breeze to set up. So
Yeah.
nice that you're setting up the types. So let's just do like option or null line 32. I think it's right here, right?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
so there we
so
go.
now we can tweak that one.
What if we did like options of 3 just so we can have it pointing there?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Then we're gonna close it. Okay, there we go. Let's set it to the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need
And now
some
let's
sort of
set it to
like
null. Is the actual placeholder.
Nice. So next, we need some sort of way to show the selected item. Right, because right now in the list of options, even if it's selected, there's no way we know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need some sort of like check mark or like something that indicates selected. So again, back to React icons, let's look for a very fancy check mark.
Okay.
Maybe you just use just like BI
Mm-hmm.
BI
That
check
looks
mark
good.
here. We'll grab the SVG again, copy that element, copy element, and then we come back here and just like drop that check icon. Return that SVG. All right, so let's just add that now to the UI when it's checked.
And we also need to do the area hidden, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
still just it's a like decorational element, right?
yes.
Where did you put the file? Check icon.
Yeah, it's in check icon.
Yeah. There's the check
All right.
icon.
So let's decorate the icon, the option now when that value exists.
Yeah, so if, for example, if the selected, if the area selected condition is true, that's when we're selected but not focused, right? But because in this case we're tracking both of them at the same time. Maybe we
Yeah,
should
I
update
mean,
that as well.
yeah, we should. I mean, I think we should actually update this because I'm thinking that like the area selected value here should really point to when that value is selected.
Yeah, to the selected option that we have at the top.
Yeah. I think we can actually skip. This could actually be Boolean, so we don't need to do like true and false as strings.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had that on like different parts as well. Okay, selected option. Now it's giving me a never type because we always set it to null. Okay, now we can do if the value equals to selected option dot value, because the value is the actual value. And now again, if the value is the selected option dot value, then we want to bring the check icon into it. And now we do have some styling to do.
Yeah, we wrap it in a span, so and then we can sort of like stretch out the label and stuff like that.
There we go. Go back to the style. So now where we have the option, right, and then like span, we wanted that. This is not a flexbox, so maybe we want to do display flex on it.
Yep. Align item center.
Justify center. Sorry, align, not justify. Wow. Align items center, and now we want to do the flex 1. So the actual check mark is at the far right, always.
Nice. Yeah, cool. So we haven't gone too far, but I think we've done quite a lot already. So we're running out of time. We have just 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
So maybe we should sort of like take some questions if there are any questions, or we can just continue.
Right now we don't have any questions. Let's see. Marcelo, hi. Aaron was also here. Hi, Aaron. Nope, no questions. I'm looking at the option 3. We have the check mark, but we don't have the background. So we have the area selected right here, but we don't use that in the CSS.
I guess we don't have to really, because it's just selected. Like you just need to know visually like the selected item. That's
Yeah.
all we need.
Yeah, we already have that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing I would do is maybe like pipe across these attributes I mean into the DOM. When we get into the machine, I'll probably explain a bit more why we need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually retrieve these values at any point in time as we want.
Okay.
So the value here is not exact. I don't think value is a valid attribute of a list. It is, but like in this scenario,
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly useful.
Yeah, it's
So
not an option basically. It's a list
yeah,
item.
this item. So we just keep that in the data attribute instead. So we have all the basic structure that we need. We have like, I think we should also give the focus state, just a generic focus state styling for
Mm-hmm.
everything. The button,
Okay.
the
There's
list
the
box.
trigger. Focus or focus visible? What was the
Just
difference?
visible. Visible. Yeah, focus would always show. Focus visible would only show for keyboard interactions.
Okay. So we wanna, how do we wanna style
But
the
let's do
actual?
focus. Let's do focus for now. So at least we always see it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we fix it. We can change it back to focus visible. So do an outline. You can do an outline instead of a border. Two
Okay.
pixel outline with a blue or teal color or something. Solid.
There we go.
Yeah, I
Can
think that
we
works.
can we animate this? Let's see. Transition, outline 015, ease out. Yeah. I mean the actual when you click away, it doesn't really look good, but try
Yeah, that's because of the
pressing.
ease out actually. If you do like some sort of linear, if you just keep it linear, it should be fine. Just remove the default ease out and just let it just be like that. It's I think we can get rid of this default outline
Mm-hmm.
here and just goes out like that. Well, we can get into all these like CSS transitions, but it's not really part of what we want to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have everything. The next bit here is we've got this is open. We can use this is open attribute to control the visibility of the UL element.
Mm-hmm.
So we can add the hidden attribute if it's not open.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is the correct. Or did I miss it? Is it the other way around?
Is open
What
is
is open?
actually true.
Oh, it's actually true. Yeah. So if we do false here, it actually closes, and then if you
Mm-hmm.
do true, it opens up like so. Yeah, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we have the last piece we talked about is disabled. So we're most likely going to stop at this point. So the reason why we're doing all of this attribute here is so that we actually write out all the requirements that the machine needs to provide for all of the UI to work correctly.
This is the
And I'll show
context,
you.
basically,
Yeah,
right?
this is exactly the data or the context that the machine is going to run with. Well,
Mm-hmm.
maybe except the placeholder because that is just
Yeah.
UI data. So all of these right here are machine provided data. This one I just put like maybe UI data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe you'd consider like things like invalid.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mostly like UI piece of data.
Yes, we display like a red border around it.
Yeah, so when it's disabled, we also want to pipe that. We also want to pipe that across. to this button. I believe we should pipe it across the label as well as a data attribute. So we can then in the CSS just, figure out how you want to make it disabled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as well, I'm not sure if we really need to do anything here to the options because they are not even going to show up, in the first place. So
We could. Is it a good idea, for example, if we scroll down, for example, to line 66, where we have the hidden? Hidden is true when it's not open, but then also if it's disabled, is always hidden, whether the is open is true or false,
yeah,
or
yeah,
we don't need to
yeah, we don't
put
need
that
to
there.
because like by default is open starts out like this,
Yeah, and you can
and
actually
you can actually
trigger
interact
it.
with
Yeah.
that. So and that's the thing. We have cursor pointer currently, and it's disabled. So that's something we
Mm-hmm.
want to fix as well.
Yeah.
And then I would also pipe over the invalid option to the button as a data attribute, so we can use that for some UI styling. So do you want to drive from here, just do the styling for these attributes, and then we can wrap this stream up.
Okay, what did you have in mind? Sorry, I was doing the cursor on the trigger
Okay,
when
cool,
it's
cool, cool.
disabled. Go check it out, by the way. Do you
Yeah,
think this is a good? It's not allowed, so it displays a little.
not sure. Well, there are different school of thoughts with this disabled
Mm-hmm.
property because it's like if you wanted to show a tooltip when it's disabled to explain why it's disabled, you probably don't want to
Mm-hmm.
use not allowed. So
Not
it's
allowed. Yeah.
it's a little bit of a tricky thing. I'll probably keep the cursor to be default to be safe. So I'll just use that default cursor.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot interact with that. Then you should also style the label because it has a cursor pointer as well, and it doesn't look disabled.
Yeah. And the label was a
Data
data
disabled.
disabled.
Yeah.
Okay, so cursor, that would be the default, and maybe like even make the color gray, something like this.
Yeah, something like this. This makes sense. And then the final one is invalid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna turn off. I'm gonna say disabled false. Then say invalid true.
Okay.
So that will sort of like attach properties to to the label and invalid. So let's just put some styles to that one. Data invalid on the button and the label parts. So we
Okay.
do an outline, nice. Same for the label, can maybe have a color red or something like that, or a border. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Here is the label, data invalid. We'll say color is red. Typos. Okay.
Sweet. So yeah, I think we can stop here for today.
Mm-hmm.
We're 3 minutes over time, and I think we've gotten to a pretty good spot. So usually at this point is where you now start, where you actually go ahead to then create the machine, and then connect the machine to this piece of data that we already created here.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. This was good. Yeah. This was productive.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, this was awesome.
Nice. Nice. All right. Next. When is the next? Let's tell the viewers. When is the next uh Design System Friday going to take place?
On
Is it
Friday,
gonna take on
because
Friday? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we hope that everyone who watched like this live stream, I liked it. It's a good it gives you a good perspective on how things are built, how reusable like well built components are actually built and like how much thought goes into them. So yeah, we are gonna continue this next Friday, which is uh, Friday the 14th. That was close. It's not the 13th. So at the same time, Sage, right?
Yeah, sometime works for me.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, hit the follow follow button if you want to get notified again when we go live next Friday, so you don't forget. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you all for joining. I think this was awesome. Maybe another stream would wrap this up. Like I believe by Friday next week we should be able to like design the machine, connect it all, and have something really shiny. Because all this phase is always boring. Like you don't want to just like, oh my god, I'm just watching some dudes draw some sketch. I'll write lots of CSS, but it's gonna get fun over time. So it just shows you the amount of thought and process that goes into the component. And we haven't done any sort of testing or accessibility use. Like we've probably done a bit here and there, but not too in depth. So it's a long process. Stick with us again next week.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Yeah.